Hello, 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 lovelies. Yes, I've changed the time to come on at 10 o'clock instead of midday, because I just have, and I thought it might be a better time. People having a cuppa, and that's what this is, a bit more relaxed. And most people listen to the replay anyway. All right, ladies. So blood pressure readings that are starting to scare a few women. So hope you've got a cuppa. Hold on for the chat. Feel free to put anything in the comments if you are. If you do happen to stumble across this and see me live and you do have a question, please feel free to ask it. And even if you're watching the replay, I will go back in this evening or tomorrow to see if there are any questions that need answering in the comments below. And just a little reminder that Facebook do only let these videos sit in the group for 28 days and then Facebook remove them. The other thing is if you want to see more of these lives and you miss them, most of the time it's because Facebook doesn't show them to you. So if you want to see more, you actually have to interact. So you have to put, just even a hi or a thumbs up, anything in the comments that tells Facebook that you want to see more of this content. If you don't, Facebook doesn't show it to you. So at the moment, on average, Facebook at the maximum shows content from anyone's page, not just mine, anyone's page, to about 5% of the audience. All right, so the conversation I wish more women were having about rising blood pressure instead of just accepting and rolling over. If you listen to Monday's talk, this is sort of to go with it. So Monday is the what is happening, why it's happening, and Fridays I'm trying to do the oh, that's why it feels like this. Bit more of the how it feels in real work in real life. That's why I'm calling it real talk. So if you're new, welcome. Say hello so I know you're here. And it's also really good feedback for me to know what topics are more what topics are more interesting to you and what you want to know about. So also feel free to DM me if there's a topic or a subject or a symptom that you would like me to talk about. All right, so today isn't about teaching you more information. It's about something, more tangible, more real. The moment when you had your blood pressure taken and the number was higher than you expected. A lot of women have said to me, I've always had low blood pressure, or blood pressure has never been a problem for me, and all of a sudden it is. So this is where you have that blood pressure reading that comes back a little bit high and you go, wait, what? When? What? Why? How? Right. So what's happening? Because when blood pressure comes up, the conversation usually goes straight to, oh, we've got to bring that down, we'll medicate you. And and I want to be really clear, medication has a place, absolutely, but it manages a number. It doesn't explain the pattern. It doesn't address that blood pressure medication, depending on what form it is, what it's going to do, whether it's a diuretic, whether it's lowering your heart rate, whether it's dilating your vessels. There's lots of different ways that different, ACE inhibitors to CCKs, that all work in a different way, right? So depending what it is, what it's doing, but none of them are going to address your stress load. None are going to address your hormonal shifts. None of them are going to address your metabolic changes underneath it all. And that's why so many women feel I'm managing it, but I don't understand it. Right? My numbers have improved. You deserve to understand it. So let's talk about what this actually looks like in real life, because it's rarely dramatic. It rarely goes from low to high overnight. It's more like that's a bit high. Like when you go to the GP and if it's been normal and then it starts creeping and it goes, oh, we'll just keep an eye on this. We've got to monitor it, right? And you walk away going, okay, Should I be worried? Is this just age? Should I be on medication? And then you start to notice your body more. You might be monitoring each time you see the GP, and obviously, depending on how often you see the GP, that could be a year in between visits. I know I recently walked into my GP and I went, oh, when did that happen? Because she was 8 months pregnant. And last time I saw her, she was getting married. Or had just got married and just got back from a honeymoon. And I said, oh, that feels like it's happened overnight. And she said, well, it definitely didn't happen overnight because it had been 14 months in between visits. So what I'm saying is, when they say monitor it, how often are you going to the doctor to get it monitored? Right. So what can start happening in those between those visits, you can start to get a pressure feeling, headaches that come and go, which was actually why I'd seen her 14 months ago, because I was getting headaches. And I've got a very, very strong history of strokes. So I wanted to make sure everything was okay there. Guess what? It was hormonal. Anyway, MRIs later, eye specialist, expensive visits later, it was hormonal. Right. So headaches that come and go, feeling more on edge, your sleep, is not as deep as it usually is. Nothing extreme, but enough to make you feel, I don't feel quite like myself. Let me know in the comments if you felt any of those happening, or if you just don't feel quite like yourself. And that's what a lot of people say to me. I just want to feel like myself again. So let's just name it. What it actually, why it actually shows up. It's that moment, as I say, where the GP takes your blood pressure and the numbers are higher than expected, and you kind of laugh it off, but something in you goes, that's not right. And checking it again, maybe at home, maybe at your pharmacy, and feeling your body tense while you wait for the number, because you're hoping it's just suddenly goes back down. Is it white coat syndrome, right? And you're wondering, is this something I should be worried about, or being told, just monitor it, walk away, blah, blah, blah. As I said, I want to say this clearly, right? You are not the only one experiencing this, and it's not random. In fact, by your 50s, a large percentage of women experience rising blood pressure. But there's a part that matters, and part that you aren't told why. I did put lots of information up, and I also posted a checklist for you. So if you haven't seen them, scroll through. There's a blood pressure checklist and lots of facts and figures if this is of concern to you. But let me share something I see often. A woman comes to me and says, my blood pressure has never been an issue before, and now it suddenly is. She might have changed what she's eating. She might have been eating really well, trying to look after herself, doing her best, and yet her body is responding in a different way. And what she's been told is reduce salt, lose weight, come back later, and she feels confused, slightly anxious, and not really fully reassured. So let's gently shift this. This isn't just about blood pressure. This is your body responding to pressure. Right? Your body is under pressure. The number isn't the problem. It's what your system is under, right? Your system under pressure. This is where everything we talk about connects, hormones, stress, sleep, blood sugar, inflammation, all feeding into your cardiovascular system. So when estrogen goes down and blood vessels lose the flexibility, remember I said it was like a tightening or hardening of a hose, right? When stress increases, vessels tighten. When insulin rises, fluid retention increases, all drivers of blood pressure. So the blood pressure rises. And this is where it connects, as I say. If you think about and if you knew the last few live talks in this symptom decoder series, right? The belly fat, the inflammation, the fatigue. This isn't separate. It's the same system under pressure. So what do most women do? They be good, eat less salt, and worry about the number. And again, those things can help, but they don't explain why your body has changed in the first place. You're not doing the wrong things. They're just being applied in the wrong order. So, as I say, you've got to address the root cause. So the questions that have been sent to me in the DMs, and a couple of emails actually, I'll do that because my emails are, should I be worried about my reading? Should I be worried about just one high reading? It depends on patterns, not just one number, but it's something to understand and not ignore. So if you do get one high reading, could be an anomaly. It could be because you're coming down with a virus. It could be because you're rushed. It could be white collar syndrome. It could be fluid retention. Okay, it could be your kidneys. It could be your thyroid. It could be lots of different things. So that's why I'm saying we'll look for a pattern. And that's why we'll get the GP will generally give you a handout to fill out and get you to check your blood pressure morning and night and track it over a week to see how much it fluctuates, or if it slowly goes down and stays down, or what's happening. So tracking is really, really important. Another question was, is this just menopause? Menopause doesn't cause it alone, but it reveals what's been building underneath, what just changes are happening because of that, because of the pressure. So that's what I always say, that life creates the cracks, right? And menopause shines the torch through those cracks, so they become more obvious. They become more apparent. They didn't just appear overnight. Next question, do I really need medication? Sometimes yes, and that's okay. It can save your life. But medication doesn't replace understanding the system. And as I said before, medication doesn't take away the stress. It can maybe take away take the edge off the anxiety of seeing your blood pressure being high, if it's medicated and brought down low, but it's not going to change your hormones. It's not going to change what you're eating and things like that. Okay, so yeah, absolutely, sometimes you need medication, but it is nearly always better to look at your diet and lifestyle around your medication, and not just keep going and keep pushing and hoping that one pill is going to make everything okay. Another question, can this actually improve? Yes. Blood pressure responds very well to foundational support. So depending on family history, genetics, where you are health-wise, so your excess body weight, visceral fat, your stress levels, your diet, your salt intake, all those things, your hormonal fluctuations, you can definitely bring your blood pressure down. And some people have to go on medication for their life. Some people go on medication for a short term while they get those foundations in a better place. And anybody that listened to my masterclass on Wednesday night know that's what I talk about a lot, getting those foundations strong and stable. Okay. So if nothing changes underneath those bottom layers, those foundations, then the pattern will continue. And over time, that can have an impact. Obviously, it can affect your heart health, because the longer your blood pressure is high, the more damage it's doing to the cardiovascular system. It can affect your metabolic health. It can affect your overall energy levels. So not to scare you, but just to bring awareness. If we do ignore it and don't try and reduce it, it does have a knock-on effect. So the woman who actually does well and thrives through midlife doesn't ignore the number, but she also doesn't panic. She asks, what's my body responding to? And she gets support with that. Right? Is it responding to my stress and anxiety? Is it responding to inflammation? What's driving it? And you support that. Right? So if this feels like you, if you've had that moment where the number didn't sit right, this is where proper conversation matters, because this isn't just about blood pressure. It's about your whole system. You can message me or comment below, blood pressure, BP, whatever you want. And we can actually, we can have a talk and see where you're at and what might be a good next step for you. So before we finish, I want to speak to the women who's been quietly worrying about this. Your body isn't randomly changing, it's communicating. Remember, symptoms are signals. And when you're understanding what it's trying to say, everything becomes a lot clearer. Okay, so just remember, the number isn't the problem, it's what your system is under. If your system is under pressure, your blood pressure is going to rise. Hope this has been helpful. Let me know if you've got questions and I'll come back to you with some answers. All right, bye for now.